Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Cinemondo Podcast, Unseen Podcast Cinemondo Time.
Mark your eyebrows.
Yeah, that's the new name. And it's about what we do is we talk about movies that we have never seen, which is such a limited resource. I have to say, we're finding it harder and harder to come up with movies that we've never seen, which is
that we want to see.
That we want to see.
We haven't seen and we have no interest in.
Yes.
It's not like just coming up with a movie we haven't seen. It has to be something that we actually want to watch.
Oh my god.
So yeah, we picked out some movies, and who wants to go first?
Kathy, why don't you go first?
I'll go first. All right, so Midnight Mass just came out, and I loved it. Mike Flanagan did a series on Netflix, and it was, not connected to the Haunting series, but he just did this fantastic series. So I was like, well, I have seen everything Mike Flanagan has done. And then I realized I have not seen everything Mike Flanagan has done. I was missing one. It was called Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Oh.
It was actually the sequel to the original Ouija. So I was like, I can't believe, but it seems like a movie. Why would I want to see Ouija 2? It just doesn't seem like, it would be necessary. But when I found out Mike Flanagan wrote, directed, and edited it, well, got to be seen. So that's my movie.
That's a good,
interesting.
And you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I know I'll like it because Mike Flanagan does not make crappy movies.
The first one.
Well, do you have to see Ouija 1 first?
No, it's a prequel. So you
I
have
think
to
it
see. The
stands
first one's
on its own, right?
terrible, and this is absolutely, absolutely. That's a good one. That'll be fun. I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm doing the classics. I did Gone with the Wind. I did our older films. I did The African Queen. This one is a smaller film, but I've always wanted to see it. It's called Marty. It was from 1955, starring Ernest Borgnine. So everybody knows from McHale's Navy or other films.
Escape from New York.
Willard.
Escape from New York, Willard. He's a great actor. I've always liked him. And then he plays this sort of sad sack character. And I also want to see it because it was written by Patty Chayefsky, who is such a great writer, who wrote Network and some great TV stuff. So, and I've always liked his work. So this has always been on the list to see. I saw it. I said, hey, Marty, that's going to be next for my unseen film choice. So Marty for me.
Great.
That is a classic. I'm going to go with a classic too, something I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I've never seen because so many of my friends like this movie. I remember this being a big deal when it came out and people talk about it. It's directed by Wim Wenders, who did Until the End of the World and Wings of Desire. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Wings of Desire was a big deal in the 80s. I think they were very stylized, kind of 80s style, existential kind of movies that were these kind of long, pensive, introspectively science fiction-ish in a way, with Until the End of the World. But then Wings of Desire was sort of allegorical. These angels help people and come to Earth, and people can go out of being an angel and become human. And it was kind of metaphorical, and it had Peter Falk in it. But the one that I haven't seen that seems to be on a lot of people's favorites lists is Paris, Texas. And I've always kind of had a little bit of, not quite sure if I love Wim Wenders or not,
He's a challenging filmmaker.
Yeah, and it's kind of made me sort of put this one off for some reason. But so many people love this movie. And it's Harry Dean Stanton, and I really love Harry Dean Stanton. Mm-hmm. And I believe, is Dennis Hopper in it? Or am I thinking of I'm thinking of The American Friend or something. Maybe that doesn't have I don't know. But I don't know very much about Paris, Texas. I assume that it takes place in Paris, Texas.
And it's a long film.
Has Nastasia Kinski in it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
yeah,
cool.
I've seen the opening credits, I think. I remember seeing Harry Dean Stanton just sort of walking out into the desert in the opening credits.
Yeah. That's the poster too. The poster looks like he's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
All
that's my
that's a good
film.
one.
I don't know anything. I really don't know anything about it, honestly. And it's
that's the way it should be.
Yes.
Yeah. What's weird is that it's on so many favorites lists, and it's Harry Dean Stanton, and I should have seen it.
Paris,
All right.
Texas, Marty,
Excellent.
And Ouija 2 or Ouija
Okay,
Origin
here
of
we
Evil.
go.
So are we ready to get into
We're
the time
ready to
machine
go.
and go
Let's do it.
forward in time? We're not gonna go back in time. We're gonna go forward in time to a time when we have all three seen the movies that we just talked about.
That's right.
Okay.
Here we
You
go.
ready?
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. I'm turning on the time machine. Okay, we're back. We went forward in time, not back in time with Huey Lewis. Okay.
We went back to the future.
Always
And
gets
we've-
me vertigo.
Yeah.
I have to get some
And now
juice in me.
we've all seen these movies that we were just talking about, and I think Kathy went first last time. So, do you want to go first?
Wow. Okay, I'll go first. All right. So now I'm very proud to say my Michael Flanagan collection is complete. I have seen all of his
Excellent.
movies now.
Congratulations.
Oh, is it kind of
Yay.
disappointing to feel that though? I feel like, oh, now there's nothing. Oh, well, you wait for the next one. He's still alive and
He
working.
is still making things. And he's making series now too, which is cool
Yeah.
because you can't have too much Flanagan. But it's basically the prequel to the original Ouija, and the original Ouija movie had its problems. So didn't expect such a huge upgrade because I don't think people were really aware that Flanagan was really going to knock it out of the park like this. So he wasn't quite as well known when he made this. So
Right.
so it's set in 1967, so it has a nice cool vintage feel to it. The sets are amazing, the cars, everything looks great. The styling is great. So just seeing a horror movie like this set in the 65 is very cool. I mean, that alone, it becomes something fun, and they don't have to rely on anything that the previous film was laying out that didn't work. They were able to go back and sort of set it up.
And you don't have cell phones, which is like in
no
horror
cell
films. That's like the bane of horror is
Right.
everybody being connected.
It truly is. So it stars Elizabeth Reeser and Henry Thomas. Elizabeth Reeser is the mom. She runs like basically a fortune telling business out of her house. She knows it's fake. It's totally set up. She has it's cool because they show all these mechanisms that they use to scare
Right.
and convince the people that it's real, like weird magnets on the table and little tricks that fortune tellers can use.
Yeah.
And so eventually, she gets intrigued by Ouija boards, so she brings one home to try. And it turns out something is really in the house, and they create a portal, and they're actually bringing something to the surface. So things get real. That's when the daughter, Lulu Wilson, incredible, like so great, like she's so creepy. Like, let me show you this picture of her. Like, this is like one of the coolest, like, what?
Oh God.
And it was weird because it's so subtle. Like, it doesn't look subtle here, but when it's happening, you see this creepy kid, and all of a sudden her mouth, she's like, wow, and it just
is
keeps
that
going.
her
and you're
real
like,
face?
what's happening? And Elizabeth Reeser is always great. She's in all of the Flanagan. You see his stable of actors. Henry Thomas.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Reeser.
It's the Flanagan repertory theme.
It is.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
And then the other little tidbit is, let me see where. Oh,
Well, they're always so different
so
in them too. Like
this poster. My husband designed this poster.
Oh, cool.
No
So
kidding.
he actually did the poster for a Flanagan film, which I'm very, very
Wow.
impressed by.
That's it.
So now they had a bunch of different posters for the teasers. Like this was one. You see, it has no credit, little block at the bottom, so it's like a teaser movie.
Right.
And this is also a Blumhouse film, so it's a Blumhouse series, and I'm all over Blumhouse. I love them; they're so fun. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. It starts out, you think it's just this haunted house story, and it goes a lot deeper. You find out, it's originating in the basement. They find that these IDs hidden in the wall down there, and it was a bunch of people who'd been, kept prisoner down there. It becomes very, very creepy and what would you call it? Not like Nazism, but it's obviously they're keeping people prisoner because they're racist, horrible people.
Right.
Whoever's in the house torturing them. And pulling teeth and doing all that. They're finding like gold fillings, bags of gold fillings. So it takes this whole other level. And just like Flanagan always does, it's like stuff is so emotional. There's always this super sad emotional core to everything he does. So here you have this haunted story, and it's all like kind of crazy, and people are making weird faces, and like weird shit's happening where it's like, oh, I have no mouth. And yet at the very base of it, it's a super sad, tragic story. Always. And the people get involved, it's their fates are all really sad, and the complexity of the fake fortune telling to the real life conjuring of spirits. I mean, it's really, really layered stuff. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised, but also not surprised because it is Mike Flanagan after all.
Do you have to have seen the other one first, or
No,
it
because it's a
stands
prequel.
alone?
It stands alone as prequel.
So it would be you could watch this one, and then if you're intrigued by it, you watch the other one.
Yeah, and if you've seen the first one, definitely when you stay through, there's a post-credit ending that links it to the first film.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
well, I saw it and I thought it was great too. And
Really
I think
good.
another positive is Doug Jones, who he's great in this. He always plays, monsters of some sort.
Exactly.
And he's great. I mean, I think his character
So
is
good.
It's chilling. I mean, it was actually scary to me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So there it is. I'm very
It's a good
happy
one.
with my choice.
Good.
Interesting.
All right. Well,
Okay, who's next?
I guess I'm
I
second.
think Mark was second
Okay.
with
So
Marty, right?
Marty. So this is a film from 1955 that was directed by Delbert Mann, who directed lots of films, but this was his first film. And it was written by Patty Chayefsky, who is best known for Network and then The Hospital, and he was like the golden age TV writer in the 50s, along with Rod Serling. Those guys were sort of neck and neck doing this great sort of golden age of TV drama.
Really smart stuff.
Yeah, and this is a feature film starring Ernest Borgnine and Betsy Blair, who I never saw before. And Ernest Borgnine plays this butcher who's 34 years old. He's a bachelor, lives with his Italian mom, and just sort of leads a sad life. And he just wants to find a girl. He just wants to. Everybody else is getting married. He's got a lot of siblings. They're all married. He's stuck there, and he just knows he's ugly. He's fat. He's never going to get anybody. Well, he basically says that. It's very frank in an interesting sort of way, the way they talk about themselves.
Didn't stop me.
Oh,
Stop it.
stop.
Buck up, Ernest. Come on.
Come on.
But he goes out with his buddies who are just looking to find some dames, at a bar or at a dance hall, and he meets this woman who gets stood up by her jackass blind date guy who just takes off, calls her a dog and all this kind of stuff.
Eek.
Yeah, and then they form this friendship, and the movie takes place in like one night or like one day, like a weekend. So it's just about their relationship, how they get to know each other, and the next day whether they decide to keep going. So it's a very simple film, but very knowing and smart, and the writing is great, and the relationship between him and his mother and his siblings and this girl played by Betsy Blair, who I never saw before, but she was a big London stage actress who was actually married to Gene Kelly for a while. And they're great, and I was really touched by it. I was watching with my wife, and she looked over me halfway through, and I'm crying for some reason. She goes, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is touching me," So because it's just like it's kind of that we all know that sort of sad person who. And maybe I was it for a while, but just can't find that right person. And this is all about that. This is about that film. So it's just beautifully done. Ernest Borgnine won an Academy Award, and he deserves it. He's great. Patty Chayefsky won for Best Screenplay. So, it got its just desserts. Very small movie. Burt Lancaster produced it.
Oh, with his production company.
Yeah, with Hecht Lancaster. And in fact, the trailer for it. In fact, let me show. I don't have the trailer, but here's a shot of the. This is Ernest Borgnine, Joe Mantell, who you might recognize from some other movies.
Yeah.
And then this is Betsy Blair. So it's just it's a black and white film, but it's very sweet and I highly recommend it. If you're looking for a small movie from the 50s, well written, 90 minutes, it's quick and very sweet. A gem. I'm very happy to
Wow, yeah. I feel like I've seen it, but the way you're describing it, I'm like, wow, maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I should see that one.
It's a good one.
I always like Ernest Borgnine.
He's very sweet in this. He's like a very likable guy, kind of a sad sack, but then he's at the end it's very uplifting. It's a very positive
good.
film.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good one. So high recommendation along with Ouija 2 and Marty, 2 totally
Very
different films.
But so far so good. 2 out of 3 are really liking the movies, and I'm going to add a 3 out of 3. I really liked Paris, Texas.
Nice.
Again, I said it in the intro, but I'm surprised I never saw it. It's like a movie I would have seen. Why didn't I see it? It's weird. But it's a road picture, sort of. It's a rural Americana kind of thing made by a German filmmaker who came to America because he wished to make a film about America, and he there is a kind of a slightly detached from America vibe to it in a way, like it has a feeling of, I mean, the vistas and the views and what we see, the locations are real. I mean, he really shot it in Texas and Los Angeles and Houston, like Houston, Texas. Interestingly, they never shoot in Paris, Texas. There's no scenes in Paris, Texas. The only scene in Paris, Texas, the only shot of Paris, Texas is in the photograph that Harry Dean Stanton has of a vacant lot that he bought. And I think maybe some flashbacks or some Super 8 films that may have been shot in Paris, Texas. But it's not a part of the film, really. It's a concept in the film that's brought out in a memory that Harry Dean Stanton's character has. But it's a family story. It's kind of a small-ish story, slow-moving, pensive, introspective, thoughtful, all those things I said before. It is, but it's beautiful to look at. The cinematographer, Robbie Mueller, who unfortunately we just lost in 2018, he had worked with Wim Wenders and Jim Jarmusch, Lars von Trier, Peter Bogdanovich, Barbara Schroeder, lots of people. And this amazingly beautiful cinematography, daytime, nighttime. I mean, incredible nighttime photography, which back then wasn't quite as easy as it is now. And a lot of really modern looking cinematography. It really, to me, looks like a film that could have been made yesterday as far as how beautifully shot it is. Not that old films aren't beautifully shot, but this one has a very sort of modern look to it with the framing and the composition and things like that. It's you can tell, I never saw it until now, but when it came out in 1984, it was probably groundbreaking in a lot of ways. I mean, I can kind of put myself back then and think I would have been probably blown away by the cinematography in 1984 if I'd seen this back then. But now I'm still blown away by it. But it's basically Harry Dean Stanton is a guy who's gone through some kind of trauma, and his brother tries to take care of him, and he's got a little boy, and he's been missing for 4 years. They think he's been dead, and he's got a wife who lives in Texas somewhere that they can't find, but she's been depositing money for the little boy, and he kind of uses some detective work to track her down. It's a road picture where they kind of reunite, and they have a moment where they get to sort of discuss their reasons for why they were such jackasses back 4 years ago or whatever. And there's a scene at the end that's really long, but it's one of those, here's the meat of some acting that we're going to let these actors alone in a room, and they get to act in this sort of heartbreaking dialogue kind of thing. And it's nicely done, but it's a little bit overwrought, a little bit, but I liked it. It's got Nastasia Kinski in it, who is just very, very mysterious and
always
and cute. And here's what she looked like in the film.
Oh, that's great.
She's and look at that cinematography. I mean, that's could have been shot yesterday.
The colors are amazing.
Right.
And here's Harry Dean Stanton, who is not wearing a MAGA hat. It's just a red hat.
Way before.
Well, and Harry Dean Stanton, like Mark said earlier, couldn't be less MAGA. So, but those shots, that kind of cinematography, and it's beautiful to look at, but not a whole lot happens, which is I'm not criticizing it for that, but
how many car chases?
It's just a character study mostly, right?
It's a character study, and it's
I remember. I haven't seen it in a long
study.
time, but I remember that, like, just lots of character and discussion, and these big open spaces.
It's got Dean Stockwell, who I said it earlier in the intro. I said, "Does that have Dennis Hopper?" And I was thinking of Dean Stockwell. I think
because they're both in Blue Velvet.
Yeah,
oh my God, Blue Velvet.
That's the connection.
That scene.
Well, they were the young wild kids, the wild guys when they were young in the movies.
Right.
And it also has a kid in it. His little boy, Harry Dean Stanton and Nastasia Kinski had a son. Their characters had a son. And the little boy's name is Hunter, and he's played by an actor named Hunter Carson, who is
Why is that familiar?
Hunter Carlson.
Yeah.
Or no, Hunter Carson. Yeah, no, he's a good guy, and the kid is great in it. It's a really interesting kid performance. He's really underplayed. He's not like one of those, "Hi, I'm a kid," one of those kind of kids. He's like a little adult in some ways, and some of the dialogue that he had was really just so totally natural. You get the feeling like maybe it was improvised or.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently, it felt like when I was watching it that a lot of the film was sort of made up as they went along, sort of on the fly, because it kind of meanders a bit. Like that.
I think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw that years ago, and I remember. I think I read where he kind of like it's ad libbing. I think Wim Wenders did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And whether it worked or not, he got into the film based on that. So I guess some of that stuff did make it in.
Very cool.
So
yeah,
that's a cool
but
movie.
it gives it that feeling of kind of dreaminess. There's some films that have kind of a dreamy feeling where you're just sort of floating between situations and you go from here to there, and they're driving on this long, dusty highway, and they're talking about things that don't pertain to, they're not pertaining to the story at hand. They're just sort of offhand observations or...
Yeah.
This is not the 3-act screenplay writing. At page 23, this has to happen. At
That's
page
right.
52, this has to happen. That kind of thing. Yeah.
But there's these great little moments that, like, the little boy wants to get walkie-talkies because they're going on the road, and he thinks, oh, it'd be cool to have walkie-talkies, and the dad is like, whatever. And so there's a scene later where they actually use the walkie-talkies for something. And the kid is like, see, they're not toys. And it's got a lot of cute stuff in it and a lot of really interesting things. I think I would like to see it again. And now knowing that nobody gets shot or dies or there's no car chases or bank robberies or anything like that. It ends on sort of an uplifting note. It's a bit depressing.
Yeah.
It starts off a bit depressing. People with mental problems and trauma in their lives and people who have kind of done stupid things that ruined a beautiful relationship and bad choices and betrayals and things where how do you reconcile with someone that you walked away from 4 years ago and left them, and things like that. It's an interesting film. I really liked it.
Good.
I
So
think
we have 3 that we liked.
Yeah, it was a good.
All right.
Something from the 50s, something from the 80s, and something from maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So, no, seriously, that's great.
Excellent.
That's like different stuff. So we'll do 3 more.
Here we go.
I know my
Yeah.
next one.
All right. See you
All
next
right.
time.
Cinemondo Unseen, but the last part of it is sort of like Cinemondo Seen.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. We're now seen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we never put our bug up there. There it is. All right. Just
In
time
case
for
you were
the
wondering.
ending.
And be sure to subscribe, like, and comment.
Yep.
Yeah. We
Absolutely.
Want to hear your comments.
Yes.
You want me to do the thing?
No.
Okay. I won't do it. I'm going to make a new one that you guys like.
It's
I want to make
scary.
one that doesn't scare everybody.
Well, it's how.
It
Anyway.
has to have like angel voices and it says,
Please
like, subscribe, and comment.
Have it just kind of
That'll be
ease its way in.
That'll be scarier, believe me.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So send us any suggestions you guys have of movies you haven't seen that maybe we haven't seen, and then we can all talk about it.
See if you can think of a movie that we haven't seen.
I dare
You
you.
win a prize. I think
Dare
a very large cash prize at this point. Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Did
Disclaimer.
we,
no.
did we discontinued that? Okay.
Just stickers.
Stickers.
Sorry, folks.
Stickers.
Very large stickers.
We already gave away the cash prize to ourselves.
Mark embezzled it.
Yes.
Because his
All right.
band, he's like supporting his band with our prize money.
I got that vacation place in Cabo.
We know it's for
Sorry.
bail. All right.
All right. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
For
everybody.
watching. Bye bye.